The original intention was to have this growing dome or small hill in the forest of indigenous plants. So it was a beautiful green earthen construction that felt very at home in this environment. I wanted to make something that people would interact with. This one has a seating element inside, and there's a natural spring. It's built over the only existing spring on the property. There's a constant water flowing in the piece. I envision people coming in, sitting down and reflecting on life, or a contemplative space. There's an oculus at the top to allow light, enough light to make it comfortable. And also so that you can see the sky. I think it's an important element, the water and sky combination.
Herb accomplished his goals, and his vision became a reality. Nearly a decade passed, and not only the elements, but human impact contributed to its decline. He was invited to restore Crucible to envision his original intent.
I want it to be an interactive work, so it needs to be in a scale which a person feels comfortable moving inside. There's usually a resting spot, a seating element of some sort, or some way for a person to become engaged with it on a longer term. I do prefer people to experience the work as opposed to look at it as an object. I still do the ephemeral work that lasts a few months at a time, and I enjoy doing that. But since I've done this piece, I like the idea of having some work which has a longer interaction in the landscape, because I like to go back at a certain point and see how it's evolved. The ephemeral work, I know what's going to happen in a 3-month period, and it usually does what I expect. But for the extended work, I have no idea what will happen in 10 years. Time is a part of the work. They'll go through the seasons and they'll become very different works after the elements have had their way with it, and become a lot more interesting, more exciting than they were when I left them. Time also plays a part in just the experience of the work. I'd prefer them not to be considered as objects so much as an experience. The time involved in learning the piece, moving through the piece, becoming part of the piece. There's that element of mystery that you're discovering as you move through it, particularly the first time you enter one of these things. And some of them can be very mysterious. There's a constant death and growth taking place in the work. Crucible has gone through quite a few transformations over the 9 years. As with all living material, there's a life and death cycle, so the work is always going to be changing from seasons to years. Things go well, this should age gracefully and become very soft and lush as it ages.
Throughout the process, Clemson University students who worked with Herb describe him as an engaging instructor who likes to share his ideas, creativity, and knowledge.
One of the more interesting aspects of this particular project is the university involvement. There are students from art, landscape architecture, and horticulture all involved in creating this piece. In the best of situations, we have lots of people involved, volunteers, assistants of all sorts. And in those occasions, I can be more of a supervisor and try to ensure that the ultimate vision of the project is realized, but without necessarily being involved with every detail. Say if a student shows proficiency at laying stone, then allow them to do what they want to do with it. Take it with some direction, but allow them to follow their vision. I usually find people on every project who become very excited about some aspect of it, and I let them take it where they want to go with it. And it's sort of orchestrating an orchestra in the best of situations where many different players, and I just try to keep them all playing together. Extended Ephemeral ends up being a collaboration between the artist and the garden staff to have a work which will survive with the integrity the artist intended for as long as possible. I guess part of why I enjoy doing that now is that I have small children, and I do kind of like the idea of one day my children or even grandchildren coming to a place that I was involved in creating and being able to somehow connect back to me generations from now of something that I had done and some reflection on who I was.